Hello and welcome to Leveraging ArcGIS Solutions for Special Events. We're joined today by Chris Delaney and Jeremiah Lindeman of our Public Safety Solutions team. And I am Mike Cox, your Director of Fire and EMS Solutions, and I'd like to welcome you to the 2020 Esri User Conference. Our new solution for special events will provide you several capabilities to help build efficiencies into your preparation, response, and after-action activities related to special events. Obstacles created by large special events are typically because we're operating outside of our normal 911 center, public safety answering point, or our normal CAD, computer-aided dispatch system. So it requires us to have the ability to duplicate those capabilities and provide those folks operating at our special event the same capabilities to track personnel, to identify the location of a call, and to understand what the hazards are when we're responding to the special event. So the old solution included things like generating paper maps, and we still do that. We still print maps. But the ability for our commanders and all the way down to division group supervisors to have a real-time view of our common operating picture and to be able to develop their own situational awareness based on real-time data being provided is important and helps them make decisions, providing the right data to the right person at the right time. And that's the ultimate goal of our special event solution. And it allows us to transfer data not just to our local responders, but to any agency that is supporting. So mutual aid agencies, state and federal agencies, you can exchange that data bidirectionally to understand what their resources are committed to and what your resources are committed to, and help identify gaps in service during the special event, and certainly communicate any special hazards that occur during the event. And the new solution starts with the permitting process. And as many of you know, the permitting process is typically paper-driven at the local level. So you'll have a venue owner or a community group that is attempting to have some kind of event, and they submit a paper application that then has to go through all participating agencies. So you can imagine, that permit goes to a planning department, that permit goes to a road department, that permit goes to the fire chief, to the police chief, and can take weeks to actually get approval and start the ultimate planning process to put that special event into place. So through this permitting process, it's providing a electronic capability in this solution that saves time and days actually, and actually uses the data from the permitting process in creating incident maps and starting to build our operational capabilities for the response. Moving out of the permitting portion of the solution into the operational section of the solution, we can create real-time incident feeds. So we can have the incident location plotted on the map in real time. We can actually track our resources, and that's not just vehicles, down to the device level. So we can track resources like a walking team or a bike team or a cart team, and understand that what are their capabilities and what is their location. So when we have that medical emergency or we have that request for service, we can quickly identify within our special event area of operation what is the closest appropriate resource. Maybe I need advanced life support. Maybe I need a hazmat team, whatever the case may be. You're not on the radio trying to identify these teams. You know exactly where they are and can move that resource toward the person in need with great efficiency. We can also integrate data from outside of our local jurisdiction, that meaning the supporting agencies can provide data that we can then visualize on our operational dashboard. And we can share the data out to stakeholders and supporting agencies like mutual aid agencies, where you can provide them a view that may not have all that tactical information, but an overview of what's occurring at the event and what their resources are committed to. So through security and the appropriate filtering, you can decide who sees what data and when they see it. So again, we're getting the right data to the right person at the right time. And the solution provides a pretty unique after action review capability. So as you move into after action and are developing lessons learned, you can actually review the responses, you can review the location of resources, and you can understand what the impact of that special event was to provide for content for your after action review. So it's a pretty incredible solution to be able to go back and use the data you generated throughout the special event to improve operations moving forward or identify gaps in the resources. So ultimately, we're trying to move from that map on the left to the map on the right. And we're still doing hand-drawn maps in initial attack, but that special event provides you some blue sky days leading up to it where we can really develop some good incident intelligence products. And that's really what we're trying to do, is to provide the appropriate view to that decision maker so they can quickly deploy resources or quickly address a problem as it arises. And you can see through major events where this capability has already been proven that we can share easily, again, across multiple localities and provide the same view to the individual incident commanders or area command, if that's the case, and use this data so that it's consistent, it's in near real time, and it's the same view that the other incident commanders, division group supervisors, whatever they may be, and unified command are seeing. So there's no bad data. It's all being filtered the same way. It's all being presented the same way. And again, allows for better coordination of multiple resources during your special event. So we use the special event solution to manage the resources in real time and can provide those resources with a higher level of safety, personnel accountability. We can get that resource to the person in need, the one that is having the emergency, in an efficient manner. And then we can also review in our after action component what occurred and then build better solutions moving forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris and Jeremiah to provide some additional information and a demo of the solution. So thank you, and Chris, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. Our team with ArcGIS Solutions is designed to help identify business challenges an organization faces, such as holding a special event, and marry them with appropriate modern ArcGIS technology. We do this by looking at all the tools in ArcGIS and what the workflows for a specific business problem is. We have several teams that work together. For special events, it's really a combination of our state and local teams as well as public safety, since there's so many hands that will be involved in holding a special event. The solutions deliver a collection of useful maps and applications. Now, these are configurable and extensible as we are using out-of-the-box technology. We also have a community of users and a meetup group that meets fairly often, and something that our partners have built upon with their own offerings. I still often hear that most people do not realize that these solutions are supported by our tech support. So if you need some assistance in getting started, that is available to you as well. So our mission is really pretty clear: to help you get the applications to people who want them quicker within your organization. We want to provide a standard set of capabilities that every ArcGIS user can make use of. Many organizations have similar challenges, such as special events. They're not that much different from one city to another. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel and make use of the knowledge from the entire community. And we can't do this alone, so we really value the input and feedback that the community provides to develop these solutions. As I mentioned, special events can be a very large workflow when you think about how an event originates from when it gets applied as a permit from whoever wants to host the event through holding the event on the day of the event. So what we have is a large solution we're going to show you that takes you through this process. In the bottom left, we see where the event organizer would apply for a permit. This might be for holding a 5K fun run or maybe a concert in the park. So there's a permit that gets applied for. And then oftentimes there's many different stakeholders that will review that permit, because you want to see, Public Works is interested to see, are roads closed? Is there anything that's going to impact the event? What does the health department have to say about, food vending in the area that's going to be set up temporarily? So you get feedback about whether or not the permit can be approved and what happens next. We're providing several planning tools to help plan the temporary assets. What are the temporary features that are going to be set up to hold events, as well as how are we going to get ready to hold operations from a public safety operations. Then we kind of turn over on the right side of the graphic here, and we see that on the day of the event, that's really where public safety gets involved. So we have public safety supporting the event. They really need real-time integration to see what is happening and where. So if an incident does occur within the event, how do you dispatch the appropriate person to get there quicker to assure a safe and smoothly operating event? Also, we really want to be able to communicate with citizens, both from an economic development standpoint to really promote our community, but also allow them to navigate safely and freely within the confines of the events, and they can see what all the temporary structures are set up as well. One big thing we really want you to think about is that this is an entire event data management system that's coming together. We're not spinning up a whole bunch of applications necessarily for one event, but we're providing you a system to review all events and plan and get a historical archive of events that have happened within your community. So with that, let's go ahead and just start looking at these applications and what we're going to provide you. One thing I would like you to keep in mind as we're going through this is, since there are so many people that would typically be involved with the process, we're going to be showing you a lot of applications, and each one of these applications might have a different persona or a person that would be running that application. So we'll try to make mention of that as we go through these. What I'm going to do is I will start off with showing you the permitting process. So the very first application I want to show you that we'll be providing with this solution is the special event permit. Now, this is intended to be public facing. You would put it on your website to allow for organizers to apply for an event. Now, we're going to show you an event. It's called the Riverwalk Fine Art Fair. As of today, they're still planning on holding this event in Naperville in September. So we provide a basic form where you have some common information that would be filled out to ask the event organizer what is going to be held. What are the logistics in holding the event? Things such as date and time. When do they start setting up? When do they tear down? Who's the contact for this information? I can start to scroll through and see there's a lot of questions that really apply to the overall setup. Now, oftentimes these event permits are pretty long in PDF format. What's nice about this form is we have logic built in to have dependent questions. For instance, if there's alcohol served at the event, then we might want to ask for an additional alcohol permit. As we mentioned, these solutions are configurable, meaning that if you have additional questions you want to ask on this survey, it can be extended to really match your needs. But we think we've done a pretty good job in gathering in a lot of the standards that are collected in the permitting process. To really wrap up, what you'll do is provide just a generalized location and then a basic site map, a drawing of where the event is going to be taking place. So that this information is going to be submitted then to the host organization, typically going to be a city or a county that will host the event. Now I'm going to move into an internal application. So the person running this will typically be the special event coordinator. We have a very parallel application for special event operations on public safety if you don't want to use the permitting side, but still want to really keep track and manage many events. This is an instrumental application throughout this whole process where I see all the events that were submitted. We were just looking at the Riverwalk Fine Art Fair. I can click on this and I can get some of the information that was submitted through the permit. I can open up the full permit that I was just looking at, but I really get a status bar to see where are we in the process of managing the permit that has been submitted. My first step is to recognize that it has been submitted, and I'm going to move it from submitted to under review. And that really starts my process of gathering the information about can we approve this event or not. When I move it to under review, I see that several other buttons start to appear to really kind of guide me through this process. One of the buttons here is to edit a sitemap. So when I open up this map, I'm going to get a unique URL that is specific to this event, in this case, the Riverwalk Fine Art Fair. So I still might be playing the role of the special event coordinator typically, who is going to be in charge of approving and making the authoritative map that is set up for this event. Now, when you first open up this map, it's going to be blank. You're going to get a canvas. But what we do is provide a tool, a series of icons that will allow you to draw special event assets. And you can think of these assets are what's going to be set up temporarily for the very first time for the event. So if I can scroll down, I see things. I have an information kiosk, food preparation, things such as restrooms. So if I have a dining area, I can zoom in a little bit further and maybe we need to add in another restroom into the dining area. And this has really basic information. I'm not adding a lot of attributes to these areas. We just want to add a real quick site map. So I'm going to add a restroom to that dining area. I can start to scroll down and see that I have other information that can be set up here. Now, in this case, we have a Riverwalk art festival. So we have a lot of vendors that are set up in these tents. So each one of these tents, I might want to give a description such as what is going to be the name of the vendor that's going to be setting up shop there to really show their art. And then we have additional lines and polygons for things such as event routes. If I'm holding a 5K, what's the routes? What are ingress and egress routes to really kind of manage traffic and crowds? And then general areas. We can see that we have some for parking in the dining area here. So that's setting up a sitemap. And it's just a way for me to quickly set up where are those temporary assets going to be during the course of the event. So I'm going to, then from the permit, I'm going to go back to the permit manager. And what I can do now is I can start to say, well, I want to mark that sitemap as complete to really recognize that we're ready to, take next actions on that. Once that is complete, I have another button that allows me to notify reviewers. Now, what this will do is it will open up an email, and typically I might have 9 or 10 reviewers that I need to typically gather feedback from, and that email can be sent to those individuals. You can preload that, and what they will get back is an application that looks like this. So this is my special event permit review application. So the person running this will be the people, the stakeholders from various departments. Most cities will have one representative from most of your major departments that need to look at what are overlapping issues, what are areas of concern that we need to look at. We can see that we get a real basic overview of the events. The reviewer, if I'm someone from Public Works or the Health Department, I can get a read-only view of that permit to see all the details that were submitted. And I can see there's one comment from Public Works saying that there's concerned about additional roads that need to be blocked. We see that there's additional roadblocks here too, so we can start to see what's the impact to the community. But for my sake, maybe I'm going to be playing the role of someone from the Health Department. I can add an additional comment, choose where I'm from. So we have pretty much the major departments that we've heard from that are providing feedback on the review process. And for my comments, I'm going to say, well, that due to COVID-19, need more inspections at food and another PPE station. And we can say for action taken, I can say approved, and maybe we'll just make a note here, approved pending PPE station. So just really a note to say, as a health official, we're okay with this event, but what are the things that we need to really make sure is going to happen before we can hold this event? And I can see that my comment was added. Now, if I go back to the permit manager, I'm kind of flopping roles here and going back to the special event coordinator, all those comments are going to come through. So if I refresh the browser, I would see that my comment is going to stick inside with the existing Public Works comment. At this point, if I have gathered all the comments and I feel like the event is good to go, I can keep on moving it through the process. I can say this event is ready and we're going to approve that event. So we're in the green now and we're ready to hold the event at this point. So before I really get into a couple more map making applications, I want to talk about sharing. Since the event is approved and we have all the temporary features set up, we can start to share this event with other people. One of the stakeholders obviously is going to be the public. We're providing a hub page that really allows you to promote activities within your organization. We have a general banner you can change about COVID information. But it's a great way for you to promote events that are happening within your community, what's hot, and then things to do. The things to do is going to link to a calendar application. It's basically a way that you can start to see all the events that are in your community that have been approved. You might see that it flashed real quick there from 5 to 6. So I can start to zoom around and see what are our events. So I'm playing the role as a citizen. I might want to look at and filter just over in the next week or maybe over the weekend what events I might want to attend. I can also start to visit the event sitemap. So as a citizen, once that event is approved, I can see a very similar looking application. I can open this up on my phone and navigate if I'm attending the event, start to browse to see where all the vendors are. I can do a search to see what those vendors are that are working the event. So very similar looking application that we saw earlier. There's no editing involved here. We're displaying this information to the public. One additional way to share is to other internal stakeholders. So we've heard a lot of feedback from this too, is requests from the mayor's office. What's the impact to our community? So the special event permit dashboard is a way to share internally with stakeholders that want to see what is the impact. I can see what are the events that have been approved or maybe just ones that have been submitted. So do we need more assistance in going through the review process? Big things we hear about is, what's going to really be impacting our city or our community? Where is there alcohol involved? Where are there fireworks, especially, multiple fireworks on one weekend that we might want to be aware of that are coming up? So that's a couple ways that you can share both externally and internally. Now, the last application I'd like to share with the planning process is an operations map. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to go back to my permit manager, and we'll see that there's a button here that you can edit an operations map. And this will open an email that will send an additional link to an application, and that would typically be sent to someone in public safety. So public safety will want to map out where their resources and their operations are going to fall during the event. So how do they get ready to prepare and plan for the event? What's nice is everything that I've already added, all those vendor tents, all the food concessions from the sitemap automatically appear on this map. So similar idea where we have a unique URL for this event where I can come in and I can start adding in additional resources. Now, what we've done recently with all the concerns around COVID is I've added a lot of health assets. For instance, a PPE station. We know that one of our comments from the health department was that we need additional PPE stations around the dining area. For this, so this might be for staff that's doing inspections of the area. So I can save that, and that gets added to my map, just like my assets did earlier. I can scroll down, see that we have additional concerns for working with lines related to the pandemic, as well as managing social distancing. Since we're kind of a new era, and everyone's just thinking about reopening, how do we manage social distancing in an event like this? One way that we might want to do it from this event like this is to segment the areas that people might be going into tents. So rather than letting everyone into all areas at once, I might want to define an area that was going to be roped off that only a certain amount of people can go into. So I can say this is going to be my viewing area 1. So we're only going to let in a couple hundred people, maybe at one point. Is kind of our general guess. What I can see is I get a little dialogue that pops up that shows me how many square feet and how many people can be let in given social distancing guidelines. So I can see there's actually about 1,800 people that can be permitted into this one area. And I might want to change that. So maybe it's a little bit bigger than what I anticipated with 200, but there's still going to be structures and there's going to be existing vendors in there. But from this point, I might want to manage and decide who's going to be able to allow people inside this event. We might have entry and exit points where people are counting the number of people inside that area, which we will also be providing tools for. As I scroll through here, there's a very large set to help you manage operations. So we have some COVID-19 related topics, but then we have more traditional public safety tools before the pandemic hits. Such as where will canine units be or on-foot officers. If I have something like a fire truck that I want outside to help facilitate a roadblock and be right by food concessions, I can do that, and I can add that to the map real quick. For some of these, I might want to add in additional comments or things like a unit ID and radio channel that is going to be useful for managing my operations. So one of the key aspects of working with this operations map is the ability to really lay down these operations tools to help you manage to have a safe and smoothly operating event, and a large tool palette to do so. There's a few other tools that are part of the display to help you manage, to really do planning and analysis, what if scenarios for the event. You can also come into this application on the day of the event. So if there is some terrible incident that happens, I can identify what's going to happen. So in the case of, for instance, a chemical spill that might happen outside a rail yard, I can type in a material. This is using something called the Emergency Response Guide. It's a standard that basically looks at all the different types of chemicals there are, lists them out, depending upon how bad the chemical is. We'll create a larger zone for where I need to have a primary evacuation area based upon the wind distance, and then more of a secondary area as well. And this can be published, so it's also viewed in real time for the operations. So if people are working the event on the day of, they can see that same area of concern out in the field. So with that being said, I went through those applications pretty quick, but I really just wanted to kind of recap, went through the permitting process of engaging with the organizer, to hands that are going to be creating the temporary asset map, reviewing it, and then also creating an operations map on the public safety. We're going to switch gears a little bit. I'm going to switch it over to Chris now, who is then going to show us operations. So we're ready on the day of the event, and how do we manage that? So Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jer. My name's Chris Delaney. I'm the Law Enforcement Solutions product owner on the Public Safety Solutions team, and I'm going to be walking you through some of the capabilities that are available to you through the special event planning and operations solution to support the event day operational needs of public safety professionals and police and fire, to ensure that as citizens gather together for that special event, that event occurs safely, and everyone is safe and healthy during that event. So leaving off where Jer had showed you a series of apps for planning, in order to spin up a set of capabilities around operations for an event, one of the things that we've built for doing that is a ArcGIS notebook. This ArcGIS notebook is really important to being able to spin up a series of apps for each individual unique event that you hold. And it's really quite simple. This ArcGIS notebook has kind of a set of instructions. And the very first thing that you're going to do inside of this notebook is you're going to fill out a spreadsheet called Field Personnel, where you're going to list out all of the roster of individuals who are going to be supporting special event operations for your location. So any police officers, any fire or EMS personnel that are going to be supporting the event, you're going to be providing in their title, their contact phone number, their username, and then you're going to be assigning them as a field worker or as a dispatch role, and that's for Workforce for ArcGIS and some of the functionality that we've built into this that I'll explain in a few minutes. So once you have that spreadsheet completed, you can come to this ArcGIS notebook, and the ArcGIS notebook is going to help you spin up a number of capabilities. First, it's going to create a sharing group that's going to enable you to share with all of those personnel a set of apps so that within that group you can securely share information. It's going to spin up a configuration of Survey 123 called Special Event Field Reporter that field staff can use to report issues from the field. It's going to deploy a configuration of Workforce for ArcGIS called Special Event Field Manager. That's going to enable a lightweight dispatching function to occur from the command post so that as information comes in over the radio, staff in the command post can dispatch out issues and responses to police officers and fire and EMS personnel in the field for their response. It's going to deploy a configuration of ArcGIS dashboard to be able to monitor and provide situational awareness for the event. It's going to spin up a configuration of ArcGIS tracker so that you're able to track the real-time positions of all of your field personnel. And then once your event is over, it's going to enable you to spin up a configuration of Web App Builder called Special Event After Action. That's going to enable you to go back and rewind and replay the events of your special event as part of an after action kind of activity to review issues that may have occurred. So you're basically going to be able to come into this ArcGIS notebook. You'll be able to see a list of any of the special events that you've listed as approved in your Special Events Manager app and that are ready for deployment. And select the one that you're interested in, and then you can press the Deploy Special Event Operation Applications button. And then all of those applications and the security group that I just described will automatically all get spun up for for that event. So anytime you're running an event, you're going to come to this notebook, and this notebook is going to help you build out specific apps to support that event. That starts to become important because in a larger jurisdiction, you may be managing multiple events on the same day with different sets of public safety staff. And so it's not really practical for those people to be able to all be working off of the same set of apps when they may need to be oriented in a particular way to view specifically the area of their event that they're working. So in this way, you can deliver a unique set of apps for each individual event. And I should also mention that there's a secondary capability that's also available that we provide using ArcGIS notebooks. And that is, if you're building an event based off of a previous year's event, you can copy the previous year's event plan and be able to publish that into a new updated event plan without having to rebuild all of that work from scratch. So that's an exciting capability that many users are really excited to get access to and saves you a ton of time from the planning side. So once you press this blue button and it generates a series of apps, you're going to get a real simple group list here. You're going to be able to see all of these different apps. A configuration of Workforce called Field Manager, a configuration of Survey 123 called Field Reporter, and a configuration of ArcGIS Dashboard called Special Event Operations Dashboard. You can see that the beginning of each of the titles is the specific name of your event and the date of that event. So it's very clear which set of apps is for which event. And then one thing that you don't see here is also the ability to spin up a set of track view in Tracker for ArcGIS. So let's take a look at these capabilities. And the first place that we'll take a look at those on is in Track Viewer. This is the app that comes with Tracker for ArcGIS that lets me see all of my different users. So you saw previously I had my spreadsheet in ArcGIS or in setting up for the ArcGIS notebook where I had a list of all of my different users. That list of all the different users got spun up into a track view for ArcGIS, Tracker for ArcGIS, and here I can see for each of my individual folks who were added to this list, I'm able to see them on this and view their individual tracks, and I could look at those tracks over time. And that is being powered by Tracker for ArcGIS, as I mentioned. And if I just pull this over, you can see my phone currently. And on my phone, here is when I open up Tracker for ArcGIS, I can see I've got my Track My Location button activated. I can see all of my tracks for my current day and for previous days. So in this way, all of your public safety staff who would be participating in the event would have Tracker on their mobile device, and that would enable them to have their locations and their position tracked to be able to support situational awareness. Now, where does that situational awareness start to come in? Well, it starts to come in into the form of an operational dashboard to support the event. And so this is what you will get when you deploy the solution for a particular event. This operational dashboard has a number of tabs at the bottom of it underneath the map and is intended to support two different use cases. First, a passive use case where this dashboard is on display on a video wall or on a television in a command post, and no one's really engaging with it, but they're able to just sort of keep track of events as they unfold. And to do that, this kind of the very first page, the way this is set up, enables you to do that. So this first page that I have called Incidents is showing two sets of information that's really key towards a passive view of situational awareness. First, on the right-hand side, I have the results of the tracker for ArcGIS track view that I just referred to a minute ago. Here I can see for all of the personnel that are supporting my event, I can see who they are, what their current battery status is, what the last known time was of their location. And then if I click on one of these, I can zoom in and it'll find exactly where that particular person is. So here's my current location relative to my event. So it's going to give me some kind of basic guidance on who's out, who is currently being tracked. And then in addition, on the left-hand side, I can see all of the active incidents that are occurring in and around my event. And so I can select any of these, and it's going to zoom in and show me where what that particular issue was. So this really reflects the kind of key information that you need to know for situational awareness during an event. Where are your people? And on the left, where are your problems? This capability comes from a number of places. Now, we already talked about how the live tracking of personnel, where that comes from, but the tracking of these incidents, where does that information come from? Well, it comes from two different places. First, if you're in the command post and you need to create an incident because you've received information about an incident that's occurring via the radio, and you need to create a new incident, and then you need to assign it out to an EMT or a police officer for follow-up, you can do that using Workforce for ArcGIS. This is the configuration of Workforce that gets deployed, called Special Event Field Manager. And here I can see all of the current list of assignments that are currently out there. I can also click on the bottom and see a list of all of my active workers and how many assignments they currently have assigned to them. I also have the ability back on the Assignments tab to create a new assignment. So if I press the Add Assignments button, and I can pick a assignment type. So maybe I've got a COVID-19 related issue that I need to be concerned with, or maybe I have a law enforcement response, or maybe I've got a lost child or other kinds of suspicious activity. And so I'm going to add in a COVID-19 incident. I'm going to select a location over here. I'm going to assign it to Chris Delaney. I'm going to put a high priority on it. And this particular incident that's come in is witnesses observe a large group walking toward art festival not wearing face masks. So I can create that assignment. And that information is now going to go out to my officer for follow-up. You'll notice that as I come back to my special events dashboard, we'll see that assignment has now shown up on my dashboard as well. And that information is also available now to my officer working in the field. So as they open up Workforce for ArcGIS, and they'll actually get a notification if notifications are enabled. They can see that I've had a new COVID-19 incident. So I, as the officer, can select that incident. I can indicate that yes, I'm starting to work that incident. And maybe I've gone and I have addressed the group of people, and then I can dictate a note citizens not wearing face masks addressed. They have been told to go home and get their face masks. Save that note and then mark this as finished. And now that subsequently is going to change the status of that event, and that incident will go away on our dashboard. So that is one way that this data can be captured about these kinds of incidents. The second way that this information can be captured is through a survey 123 to be able to have someone from the field proactively collect that information. And I should note, you just saw maybe on the dashboard that that incident has now disappeared because it's no longer an open incident. It's been closed and it's going to come off of the dashboard. But if I'm in the field and I need to self-initiate a report out to the field, I can do that as well. I can do that through our configuration of Survey 123 called Special Event Field Reporter. This enables me to do the same set of things. So maybe in this case, I've been walking around, I found a lost child. I can enter in a simple description. Male wearing a Star Wars shirt, approximately 6 years old, found near the amphitheater. I can dictate that information in. I could add an image of that person, and in addition, I could also locate that activity. So in this way, it becomes really easy for all of our field staff to not only receive incidents for follow-up from the field, but also to be able to self-initiate their work so that they can kind of report incidents that are occurring in real time. So there's this sort of two-way mechanism to capture these types of incidents. But in addition to this, we have a number of other capabilities that are available to an incident or an event commander on an event day for situational awareness to support that. The first one is that in addition to being able to view the real-time tracks of all of our personnel, we also have the ability to turn on historical tracks. And I have a series of filters that will enable me to find individual staff and view all of their historical data. So I could see where they've been recently. I could see where someone has been in the last hour, for example. So I've just filtered for myself, and here are all of my point tracks from the last hour or so. So we've got that ability to view historical tracks to understand where a particular worker was in the field. We also have the ability to start to explore a variety of different locations. I'm going to go back to Naperville right now because I'm in my home, not in Naperville. So we come back. Here is our event area. As we go into our event area, we can see also things like all of our formal officer posts. So I can see any of the kind of assignments for various posts and where those posts are located. Who is the lieutenant? Who is responsible for the fire vehicle that is supporting this particular event, and what radio channel are they on? I can look at weather conditions that might be impacting my event. So if I zoom out a little bit more, I can get a nationwide view of weather warnings that might be impacting my event. I'm going to zoom out more so we can see a little bit more information. So I have watches and warnings, and I also have real-time radar as well to be able to visualize any incoming precipitation. I also have access to understanding how my event might be impacting traffic in and around this area. So I can see not only all of my roadblock locations, but I also can see road closures, and the green, orange, yellow, and red lines represent the Esri World Traffic Service that helps me understand how congested these streets in and around my event are. Lastly, I have the ability to visualize all of the events that have occurred over the course of my special event. So not just the open ones that are being viewed on the left-hand side, but I can also see the entire history of all events that maybe have now been closed. If I need to go and review the historical log for some additional information. Maybe you've had a suspicious person breaking into cars and you had suspicious person reports earlier in the day and you want to cross-reference the current report that you're having against some of those historical reports. So once your event is concluded and your event day is over, the last capability that is supported by this particular solution is the ability to take all of this information that has happened over the course of the event, where all of these incidents have occurred, where all of your officers or EMTs have been over the course of your event, and have that available to rewind and replay in the form of an after-action report. And so here is what that looks like from this solution. For this example is from a fictional example for the Ottawa Marathon. And what you get with this particular solution is the ability to see for each individual user that you had all of their historical tracks, all of the incidents that had occurred over the event lifespan, and I have a little time slider. And that time slider is going to enable me to kind of rewind the event and see where people were at certain times. I can completely control this little time slider, the start time and the end time, so I can see how various issues or incidents unfolded over the course of the event. And I also have the ability to filter, if I need to, by specific personnel. So if I was only interested in visualizing one particular person's pattern to understand where they were, I've got the ability to do that. And lastly, if I wanted to be able to print out a report that enabled me to see the entirety of incidents and tracks, I can do that as well. So if I zoom into downtown Ottawa and I cover the entirety of my event period, I can then kind of take a little rectangle and I can generate a little report. I can see all of the incidents that happened, and I can print out a little report that provides me a map of where all those incidents took place, as well as a list of all of those incidents that had occurred. So this is a way, whether this sort of represents your after-action report in its entirety, or whether this is something that you could then append into your main after-action report, it becomes a quick and simple way to be able to dig in and understand the sequence of events that had happened from an operational perspective on your event. So that was a look at the special event operations capabilities that are part of the special event planning and operations solution. So how do you get started? Well, this, as Jared and Mike mentioned, is a solution. It's going to be available for you at solutions.arcgis.com. You will be able to find it in our fire and EMS sections, as well as our law enforcement section. And you'll be able to find it soon in a section that kind of groups both of those together, titled Public Safety. One thing that I want to note is in this video, we've shown the special event permitting and operations solution. We're also going to be releasing an alternate version of this solution that will be called simply Special Event Operations. It will not include the permitting component and will really just focus on the operational capabilities that were described in a simpler version for managing those events. And it's intended for for public safety agencies who are trying to manage events, but they don't need that permitting function that is part of the larger solution set. We are currently targeting a release date for July 2020 for this solution. It will initially be supported only for ArcGIS Online, but we hope to release support for ArcGIS Enterprise fairly soon after, maybe as soon as later at the end of the year. And the other exciting part about this is that this solution will be available through our new ArcGIS Solutions app that will be available in the app launcher in ArcGIS Online. So that enables you to do one-click deployment of the solution via a browser into your ArcGIS Online organization. So deploying a solution like this has never been easier. And it will make it's a really great way to be able to explore ready-to-use capabilities that Esri makes available. Just one last thing before we wrap up this video. Our solutions that we provide through solutions.arcgis.com is not just about the technology. It's a larger community of GIS professionals that are seeking to help solve problems for the municipalities and state and local governments that they support. We regularly share new information, things that are upcoming in our sets of solutions through our meetup series at meetup.com. We really encourage you to come and join our community to help us facilitate the dialogue between GIS professionals and the solutions team, to learn about new things that we're working on, and for us to learn more about the kinds of capabilities and requirements that you have for problems that you're looking to solve with ArcGIS solutions. Thank you very much for watching this video. On behalf of Mike and Jeremiah, we really hope that you found our new special events solution useful, and we hope that you give it a spin. Please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have additional questions. And we hope you enjoy the rest of the virtual user conference for Esri's 2020 Virtual Users Conference. Thank you.